Hello everyone, welcome to Triangle of Fans. This is Monish. As always, I'm joined by Nishant, and we're approaching the start of the season. The training camps have begun. Some have already been shut down due to COVID. Some players have not turned up. Some have disappeared. Some have not turned up for practice. Some don't know where they are. The coach is not aware either. We'll talk all about that on today's episode. It's going to be fun. We are especially looking at James Harden, in case you haven't guessed so far. But that's what today's episode is going to be about. Hey Nishant, what's up? Where is James Harden?
We all know where James Harden is. He's at some strip club in Vegas, and this isn't like Lou Williams where his friend posted a picture. He himself posted the picture, so I don't think he's particularly hiding either.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because the coach himself says that he hasn't had any contact
Yeah.
with his main franchise player, and he says he has no timeline on when he's going to return.
Yeah. So at
It's
that
kind of
point, he
strange,
didn't log into his Instagram. He found out a little later.
or probably the coach isn't on Instagram. But it's kind of strange. I mean, you're a big player. You got to turn up. The season is starting in a few weeks. You don't have a team. You're saying you don't want to play for your current team. You have not been traded yet. What is happening there? I mean, where? Let's put it this way: is James Harden going to stay at Houston? Very unlikely, right?
Yeah, I'll hit you with the pun. Are you ready?
Uh huh.
With
Go for it.
the league, preseason games and warm up games and all getting closer and closer.
Mm-hmm.
This is the last chance that the Houston Rockets have to rise. Sorry, that's just yeah. Moving on from that pun, that was miserable. I apologize. Now, like we spoke about this yesterday, right? There's no way a player turns down a 2-year, $100 million contract, biggest ever offered in the history of the game, and still stays. It's not going to happen, right?
Right.
Now, it can happen. They
Mm-hmm.
can hold him down to his contract and force him. But as a franchise, why would you do that? It's just a
Right.
toxic situation all around for your locker room, for your franchise, for your brand, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you do that? Now then, now the especially why would you do that when the alternative has some upside? So
Mm-hmm.
your status quo is you hold on to your superstar, you force him to honor the contract, but he's disgruntled. You may or may not get the best out of him. And even
Right.
with the best out of him, it's not like that was ever enough to win the chip by himself. With
Mm-hmm.
Russell Westbrook, not enough. John Wall, it's more of the same thing.
Right.
So the alternative has upside. You
Mm-hmm.
trade James Harden, who's clearly desperate to leave. I mean, can he
Mm-hmm.
make it more obvious at this point? Trade him. He's still a superstar in this league. He's still a perennial MVP candidate. You get a ton of assets in return. You can, depending on who you're trading to, you can either get your next superstar to build around, you can get a bunch of draft picks, or both, or enough players to fill out your squad, and then a couple
Mm-hmm.
of draft picks.
Right.
The opportunities are endless depending on who really wants to participate in this trade. But when the upside is that high, why not trade James Harden? He clearly doesn't want to stay. We can debate till kingdom come whether it's irresponsible, unprofessional, etc., etc., etc. But they should go ahead and trade him.
The problem though is where or who can afford James Harden and why would they take him, right? And that rules out almost like 25, 26 franchises right away
Right.
because they have a set roster, they're ready for the season to begin and they're almost ready to go because James Harden is not cheap. He comes with a huge contract, of course, worth it in a way, but nobody's really ready to take him. I think it finally boils down to two options, right? Brooklyn Nets, who've been well, that is James Harden's intention, his wish to go there and play with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Makes sense. But what can Brooklyn offer to Houston Rockets? The second option, we'll come back to that a bit later, is Philly. But let's start off with Brooklyn Nets. Why would Houston Rockets accept an offer, or why would Rockets accept an offer from Brooklyn Nets? Because all they can offer in return is guys like Spencer Dinwiddie,
Yeah,
Karis
Jared
LeVert,
Allen.
Jarrett
Yeah,
Allen.
yeah.
Good players, but they're not going to win you anything.
No,
So why
neither's
would
Harden.
why would Rockets accept something like that?
No, I don't see any reason why, and they shouldn't. Like if I were the Rockets, if I were Fertitta, I don't even
Hmm?
know who their GM is. That's how ill researched I am
Mita
on the
Fertitta,
Rockets.
yeah.
Really, no, Fertitta is the owner, but who's the
He's the
GM? I
owner,
mean,
yeah.
yeah. So whoever, right? But why would they accept that? Um, and this is where you start missing Daryl Morey, a
Mm-hmm.
GM of that caliber, which is why I think their biggest flop this offseason is not letting Westbrook go. He's not this Harden situation. It's actually letting Daryl Morey go because he would have made sense of the situation like that.
Right.
They let him go to Philadelphia, where he may just still lure James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should take Brooklyn's offer unless that offer is Kyrie Irving. And then some. When you have James Harden, that's an A+++ player.
Right.
Outside of guaranteed chips that LeBron brings, this guy is the best player that you can get right now. Because Giannis kind of melts in the playoffs. Harden does too, to an extent, but he can still shoot. You put a good team around him, you have a chance. So they should ask for Kyrie plus, or flat out just say, you know what, to hell with it. We're not trading James Harden. And they can do that. And if they play hardball, now would Brooklyn Nets really need to play along? I don't think so. Because even with Harden, that's a no-brainer. That's a chip. But even without Harden, that's a pretty solid team. Red hot favorites to come out of the East, as long as they have fitness on their side. So are they desperate? No. Would they be willing to make this move? No, they just put that team together. They've not even had one game with all of their stars fit. So they're not going to do that. Which then leaves who really? Philly? I mean, you can look at New York and all of this nonsense, and New York can give their whole squad in exchange for Harden, but why would Harden go there, right? Unless Houston do it out of spite, which they can. And that'll be a fun move. But looks like Philly. Philly makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
Yeah, so let's talk about Philly. I mean, what can Philly offer? Ben Simmons seems to be the most obvious choice, and that is something I think the Rockets should consider because Ben Simmons has a lot of upside. World-class player, can defend, can't take the three. That's okay, unlike James Harden.
He can't.
But still a pretty good player, and that seems like a more viable choice.
Right. So, I was just going to say, imagine if they still had Al Horford and they offered a package of Al Horford and Tobias Harris for James Harden because the salaries match. I think you'd be a little overmatched with those two contracts. But I like that trade a lot, actually. And even if, listen, right now, James Harden's the only guy that's desperate to move. A lot of teams would love to have him. But it seems to be a situation where there's not really a team that can readily move someone for him.
Right.
Like how the Clippers, with great alacrity, moved for Paul George like that. Like how the Rockets moved for Westbrook last season.
Right.
They knew they had a clear plan and they had assets. They were willing to give up assets and they got it done. Lakers with AD, that was a move that was in the making for more than a year. So the Lakers knew exactly who they were giving up to get AD and they got it done. I don't think there exists such a scenario yet. And this is where I think this is such an ill-planned offseason for James Harden. It just reeks of ad hoc, no preparation. There's no real game plan. I just want out. And that's where I'm disappointed. You can say, why is he chilling in Vegas? He's on contract. This is unprofessional. Whatever. I'm not counting someone's money. I'm not commenting on that. But this is where it just reeks of being ad hoc, right? Now, Philadelphia, can they move Ben Simmons? Technically, they can, but they have to give up Ben Simmons plus something to match salaries.
Right.
But do they want to do that? Are they willing to give up a superstar like Ben Simmons, who's beloved there? Does Doc Rivers want to let go of Ben Simmons, bring in Harden, and then try a whole new system? Like he's new, Simmons is new, Harden would be new in the system, and then Embiid, and how does this whole thing work?
Right.
Because now Harden's going to eat up a lot of the ball. It's not going to go to Embiid as much as it used to with Simmons around. So do they really want to do that? They can. Do they want to is the question. For Houston, I think they should take it. It'll be Simmons plus. They should take it because they can absolutely build a team around Simmons for years to come. And this guy is a two-way monster. He's not just an offensive beast. He's one of the best defenders in the game too. So I'm a big fan of Simmons. I think I've made it very clear on several occasions. Are Philadelphia desperate to make this happen if Simmons is a non-negotiable part of the deal?
Which is a better move? Which is a better team? Embiid plus Harden or Embiid plus Simmons?
I genuinely think Embiid plus Simmons as is. If they load shooters around them, and they're doing a good job of that so far. Danny Green, let's hope he gets back some form. They have Seth Curry now there. They're doing a good job of stacking the house with shooters. We know Simmons can pass. We know he can get the ball to them. Now, with Embiid and that whole pivot system, I think it works beautifully because the shooters give them the spacing they need. So then both Embiid's a stretch big, so Simmons can operate in the paint and they can kind of invert their system that way. So I love the flexibility it gives them on offense. Simmons is a beast of a defender. The deeper you go in the playoffs, the more invaluable that skill set becomes. He's a beast of a
Right.
defender. Him and Harden, that's wow. That double pivot sort of scenario is just fantastic. That you don't get that with James Harden. Him and Embiid, sorry. You don't get that with Harden and Embiid. You get, in fact, zero defense, except the occasional miracle play that Harden makes. I don't see that working out. And all of those shooters right now, the way the team is built right now, all of those shooters, what's the point if you're largely going to run your offense through Harden?
Right. And those are the only two teams that I really think can go for Harden and should or might attempt to go for Harden, right? But here's a wild card. How about the Golden State Warriors? I know there have been some rumors. Apparently, Draymond Green and James Wiseman have been missing in practice yesterday, and there were immediately talks on social media, on Twitter,
Yeah.
everywhere that, well, Warriors are going for Harden in return for Draymond Green and James Wiseman. I really don't think that's true. But how does
Yeah.
that idea fit into this whole scenario of James Harden moving to the Bay Area?
Yeah, I don't think this 2+2 thing's working out for me either. It's most probably COVID related or some such that those two
Mm-hmm.
were absent from the Warriors. Even if the Warriors were to trade those two, they're not the kind of organization to play silly childish games like this. Right? They're better than that. Why? I mean, walk this trade through for me, right? Who really goes out of Golden State to make this trade happen? Are they giving up Klay Thompson? Hell no.
No,
Are they giving up Steph Curry? God no.
no,
Right.
he's
So
he's signing a new extension, by the way.
correct? Yeah. It was a rhetorical question. Of course, they're not giving up Steph Curry, but then who's left? Who are your tradable pieces? Wiggins, okay, but Wiggins alone's not going to get it done.
Right.
Not even to match salaries. Forget caliber.
Right.
So then it's Wiggins plus someone, or it's Draymond and Wiseman, your prized possession in the draft. Wiseman, who many project is going to be a star in this league. So you give up essentially your number 4 and your number 5, both potentially stretch bigs. Wiseman not so much, Draymond absolutely, and Draymond can pass too. So you give up all of this, and you give up so much on interior defense with those two gone. Your entire paint defense and protection's gone.
Right.
And you get one of the worst defensive superstars in the league in exchange. What
Plus,
are you
we have
going to
Steph
do?
Curry already in the team.
Yeah, I mean, what is Harden going to do? Is he going to shoot threes better than Steph Curry? I don't know. Can he outscore Steph Curry? Yes. But by eating up all of the ball, Steph Curry is a lot more efficient. Golden State's entire offense is predicated on efficiency. That's why their spacing works. That's why Draymond and their off-the-ball movement works. That's where Wiggins can kind of fit into that system, and where Wiseman would be a welcome addition. Like a supercharged up David West. So I don't see it. What they would have to give up to bring in Harden just makes it such a depleted, lopsided team that it makes zero sense. And to get in what? A superstar, yes, in his early 30s, last few years of his professional career. Unless you're winning the chip, why go for such a trade?
Right. So that doesn't look happening either. So we have 3 options left. Harden to State Rockets, very unlikely. It's a option. Harden to Brooklyn Nets, very likely. That's Harden's wish, but they have nothing to offer that would please the Rockets. Harden to Philly, that now looks very likely, or should I say most viable. I think works out well for both teams at the end.
Yeah, that's assuming they're willing to trade Simmons though.
Right.
Because if they think they're not okay with this deal if it comes at the cost of Simmons, I think that'll be fair on their part. I think the sad answer is there's no ready-made answer to Harden's desire. I think it's ill-timed, ill-thought out. I don't think it's very well planned. And we're now in a game of who blinks first. Is Brooklyn going to cave into the pressure? Looks unlikely. Is Houston going to cave in and finally accept Jared Allen, Dinwiddie, and Karis LeVert for Harden? Maybe. That'll be them blinking first. Is Philadelphia willing to trade Simmons? That'll be them blinking first.
Right.
Or is Harden just going to blink a bunch of times and say, screw it, I can't play defense here either. Give me that damn contract, I'll sign and I'll play on. There's really no single straightforward answer here. There might be an outside chance of a multi-team trade to make this happen. That's about the only possibility that Harden can hope for.
All right. So we'll keep our eyes closely looking at that situation. It's going to unfold in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully before the season begins, it's going to be interesting. First of all, Harden needs to return from wherever he's
Yeah,
partying to sign wherever he wants to go.
just a
Uh,
bad situation.
yeah, talking about bad situations, LeBron James was on a podcast yesterday and he spoke about how he was being hurt by Kyrie Irving's comments about his uh, game closing abilities, if I can call it that. Because earlier in the year, actually during the playoffs,
Yeah,
Kyrie Irving went on Kevin Durant's podcast
right.
and said that finally he has a player whom he can trust to take the final shot. That guy played with LeBron James for 3 years at the Cavs, won a championship, and he makes comments like this. Obviously, it's got to sting LeBron, and obviously, it didn't make sense. And I didn't hear the podcast. You did. So
Yeah, yeah.
what did LeBron say? What do you think?
Yeah, I just came out today when you were sleeping in the US. Look, the first of all, I know the whole world straight went to what's LeBron going to make of this, but I have a bigger question. Why is
Mm-hmm.
no one talking about J.R. Smith? J.R. Smith was on that team.
Mm-hmm.
On behalf of J.R. Smith, I am offended. I think J.R. Smith is a great closer, and I am offended that all of you all just jumped to the conclusion that this is a shot at LeBron. Hey, it could have been a shot at J.R., but
Huh?
J.R. probably didn't. It probably didn't bother. But
I agree that JR is a great closer. He was quite entertaining in the during the finals as well.
nobody rolls those off quite like he can. Look, LeBron. Well, essentially, what LeBron said was he didn't want to jump to conclusions. He didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
impulsively react. He
Mm-hmm.
asked for a transcript of the whole thing. He followed up, got all of the details, and then he realized. He seems to have realized Kyrie really did say that, and it said it hurt. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
"I've wanted nothing but the best for him. I've been nothing but a well wisher and a mentor to him when he was around." And he said, "Sometimes you put yourself out there and then you just get punched in the mouth, and it doesn't leave a very very good feeling." Now this is now a battle of perception. Who knows
Mm-hmm.
which side has what? Who knows what details are getting missed out? I'm playing devil's advocate here. But as a fan, as a viewer, all I care about is when are the Lakers playing the Nets? After
Mm-hmm.
this, that's all I care about. Because they're both going to come out wanting to put on a show. And though they're not exactly going to be guarding each other, that'll be a battle that's really worth watching.
All
But that's
right.
really all there is to it. Was it a shot from Kyrie? Of course, it was a shot. Absolutely, it was a shot. And then, in typical Kyrie fashion, he makes it worse. When asked the next day if that's a shot at LeBron, he says, "Why you're always trying to pit black brothers against each other? You did that, you moron. What do you mean the media is pitting? Whatever, man. Come on, Kyrie's a circus. Amazing player,
Absolutely.
circus
I
artist.
wish he could respond to LeBron and then it'll become a matchup of two talking parties.
Yeah,
LeBron's
but
gonna
he's on
come
a
up
media blackout.
exactly, and I think that damn, why don't you just cancel that blackout and just come out and talk because it's gonna be fun, whatever he does,
Oh
right?
man.
The Lakers are supposed to host Brooklyn only in Feb now, so it's a long wait until you
Ah,
see
shucks.
LeBron take on
Valentine's Day?
Kyrie and that whole rivalry or whatever you call it, the talking matchup goes against each other.
It'd be so epic if it's Feb 14th.
uh, Meanwhile, also looking at the list of NBA rules that they have published for this year,
Mhm.
and this
Oh,
particularly is about gathering in public places with people more than 15 people, a
yeah.
crowd of more than 15 people. James Harden is already violated, by the way.
Yeah.
But how do you think that's going to work out? Because 15 is quite a small number. There are like
Yeah.
what 300 people in the league, 400, 500 players in the league, and plus the additional coaching staff and all the support staff. So how do you manage such a thing? What is the NBA going to do to enforce this?
Yeah.
Is it something that is just there on paper but nobody's going to follow? You had the
Yep.
bubble, which was pretty strict, and you had people breaching those rules. You know, Lou Williams, Daniel
Yeah.
House Jr. got
Yeah.
kicked
Yeah.
out of the bubble. How are you going to enforce such a thing across the country because now teams are traveling and all of that?
I don't even remember now, but one of the younger players, was it Kelly Oubre, someone who went out to pick up a food delivery and violated?
Someone from Sacramento,
Yeah, and had to quarantine for a week after that.
Right, right,
So look, and that was the bubble where largely by design you are restricted,
right.
and the extra rules are quite minimal after that because just by design, just on the basis of where you are, you're kind of caved in. They're doing this now in the open world. And listen, in the bubble you had, like you mentioned, players flouting these rules. And largely it's always the same thing. They want to go out, have a good time. It's sex. That's pretty much it. These are the only two. That's pretty much it. So for Danny Laus Jr., it was the latter. For Lemon Pepper Lou, as he's now called, it was the former, or both, because he went to a gentleman's club, as they call it, which have been expressly banned, by the way, by the league.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, because I think whenever you're an authority figure and you're trying to control people who also have some level of authority or independent standing, it's always a trade-off between how much power you want to wield and how much risk you want to expose yourself to of your power being questioned. Because the second it's questioned, you lose all of it and you become irrelevant. And that's really the point here. They're saying no bars, no pubs, no strip clubs. Really? This is not a bubble. Players are going to travel city to city. And you're telling them, come from your hotel room, go to the game, go back to your hotel room, go back home. That's not going to happen. 500 plus players, that's not going to happen. And then you're saying no strip clubs. That's the Clippers season gone then, I suppose. That's not going to happen. And this is, the people are not even in the bubble. People were in the bubble and they were going to strip clubs. People are now roaming free. That's not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. Look at the number of COVID cases they've already had. People just can't stay put, the superstars. You should hear how some of them were talking about 1 week of quarantine in a hotel room and how they drove them nuts. They're so used to having control on their life. 1 week in a hotel room, which for a lot of us would be, yeah, okay, as long as I have YouTube and TV, give me a PlayStation and I'm good. They couldn't take it. So these restrictive rules, and also that's just the recreational part of it.
Right.
That still doesn't stop players from bringing women to their hotel rooms, which you know is going to happen across the length and breadth of the league. Is that not a COVID threat? If you're not banning that, then isn't this a half-assed measure? And then you're saying no public gatherings of more than 15 people. So somebody's brother or sister gets married, you can't attend. Unless it's an extremely private ceremony, which is highly unlikely. That private, highly unlikely. Let's say LeBron James, his son Bronny has a basketball match, high school basketball game. He simply can't attend. Just the two teams and the coaching staff, that's more than 15 people. So you can't attend. At some point, you're just exposing yourself to somebody or the other breaking the rules, and then a bunch of people breaking the rules. At which point, what are you going to do? Ban everyone? Or not ban anyone and make your rules a joke? I just feel like this is a bit of a reach, this rule book. It'll be intriguing to see how well it's enforced.
Yeah, because the rules are pretty clear, right? Like teams could be banned, teams could forfeit games, team could lose draft picks, and kind of strict the way it is written out there. Very interesting to see if they'll actually implement it, because it's going to be a pain to keep a track of who's floating the rules, because there are going to be a good bunch of them.
Yeah, it's going to be a really challenging season. They don't have the bubble protecting them anymore. It's going to be super tough. My expectation is early on, you'll have a lot of this chaos and there'll be games missed, there'll be bans, there'll be suspensions. My only hope is, say, 20 games into the season, at least it settles down, and or things just get better organically, and we need to see lesser and lesser restrictive rules, because otherwise this season's gone for a toss.
Absolutely. Already, the Warriors unit have shut up has been delayed. The training camp has been delayed. Toronto, which is now Tampa, they've shut down their facility. Portland have shut down their facility for a few days as well. So teams are getting at it one by one. And it's going to be a nightmare. But I just hope that once the season begins, like you said, we expect some kind of normalcy, some kind of game that we can watch and enjoy, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it'd be pretty funny if I know they do COVID tests, but imagine if they just checked temperatures like they do in most places in the world, and people just pop a paracetamol tab before walking into training. Unfortunately, it's not that. They actually do tests. So let's see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, some teams have actually announced that they will start paracetamol. No, with no fans like that. But I think OKC, Nuggets, Hornets, all three of them have announced that they will start with no fans. Golden State Warriors actually tried to get a 50% attendance, but it was denied, and in fact, San Francisco has gone into a shutdown now.
Wow.
So that's not happening. But some teams have actually are going to allow fans. Memphis, I think, is allowing 20% fans.
Limited, yeah.
Atlanta are going to allow friends and family to come over and watch and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. I think these rules will keep changing as we approach the start of the season. Keane will change the chances as well. So we'll see how that goes. But it'll be
Sounds
good to have some kind of fans return. I was at Premier League last week and there were some, I think there were 2,000 fans in some stadiums and that
Sounded
actually
good.
got a bit,
Yeah,
it sounded good. It sounded very real, unlike the noises. So it's going to be fun, even if it's a small portion of the fans.
That's mostly because United won the match, otherwise it would have sounded really bad.
Maybe. I guess we're at time, and that's all I have to talk to today. We keep a close eye on James Harden's situation and which other teams and facilities get shut down today. But until the next time, see you soon.
Alright, cheers.